We were supposed to be off this week, but we had to do an emergency podcast for you all. So, I'm Andy!
I'm Josh.
I'm Russ.
This is Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Yesterday, the 18th of January, 2022, Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard in a $68.7 billion cash transaction.
How much money?
$68.7 billion.
They should have done it for $3 million more.
I also don't think it was a cash transaction.
It was a cash transaction.
They brought the cash over to him and they're like, here you go. Here you go.
Bro.
Here's your money.
It happened at a Denny's booth. They like set a briefcase down.
Here you go, Bobby.
Fucking 14 semi-trucks roll up. Fucking handle
one
it.
very nice German banker
was a
wired
cashier's
another
check.
very nice German banker the money.
So yeah, obviously it means a cash transaction means they just paid outright to purchase Activision Blizzard. This is their most expensive acquisition by a lot. The previous biggest, well, just for context here, their largest acquisition in gaming was Bethesda at $7.5 billion.
Ooh,
Yeah,
this is 8 times that.
a little bit, yeah. So their next largest transaction was LinkedIn, which LinkedIn was apparently worth $26 billion.
Who the fuck uses LinkedIn?
Apparently,
People with
Lots of
better
people.
career paths than us.
yes.
Apparently.
So, it makes it the third largest gaming company by revenue. That's only after Sony and Tencent. And that's huge. I mean,
Sorry, are you telling me video games are here to stay? Is that what you're telling me?
I sure hope so. You look up there. I hope so.
Let's not count our chickens. I mean, we're really kind of being a breakout future predictor by starting this podcast. So
The wild thing is, so Blizzard's valuation has always been reasonably good. But thinking about when Bobby Kotick took over Activision, he got it for like millionaire pocket change, right? Mm-hmm. It was like $50,000 acquisition for Activision at the time.
Wait, Blizzard was only $50,000?
Activision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was no purchase. There was a merger between Activision and Blizzard.
I thought Activision acquired Blizzard.
So
It was a merger.
remind me, please, what games had Activision done before Blizzard?
Well, I can tell you,
Was merged
before
with it.
Blizzard, all of them.
What?
Yeah.
Like what? Name some, because I can't recall.
Their current properties, like in-house properties, are Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, Spyro the Dragon, and Skylanders. So I guess Skylanders was probably after the Blizzard merger.
but okay.
But
the rest of them I recall.
Yeah, and then Tony Hawk.
Fucking Zork.
Oh, Tony Hawk.
The Tony Hawk franchise.
That's huge.
Yeah, so
They own Zork.
they do.
What the fuck is a Zork?
I guess that's true. I was thinking of, newer IP, but yeah.
You don't remember the DOS-based, text-based game?
Like an RPG?
No.
Oh, then
Like
no.
DOS text-based. Like you'd be like, you wake up in a room and you type in, look around. And then it'd tell you like, there's a house with a mailbox. And you'd be like, go to mailbox.
I remember those were like old RPGs.
Sure.
I mean, there were a lot. They
You can role play anything if you try hard enough.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Everything's a role-playing game.
Yeah.
With this news, though, we learned that Bobby Kotick is, at least for now, maintaining his spot as CEO of Activision Blizzard.
But his days are numbered.
For the morons among us, who is that?
Bobby Kotick is the current CEO of Activision Blizzard. He was the CEO of Activision at the time of the merger.
What's he to do with all the sex parties in the offices?
He is the one that was in charge while there is rampant sexual harassment, including lawsuits currently facing Activision Blizzard.
That's why they didn't sell for 69.
Truth.
Sure
Too much scandal.
That's a number they were really trying to avoid. So it looks like the acquisition isn't going to be done probably until sometime in the fiscal year of 2023. Activision Blizzard's fiscal year in 2023. So there's going to be obviously with two businesses that are as big as they are, these kinds of things take a long time. Plus, I'm sure there's going to be regulatory bodies that are looking into this.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope so. That being said, they still will only be the third largest game company in the world. So
That's hard. That's
It's wild.
That's crazy to
Yeah.
think
It's
about.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, especially when you look at Activision Blizzard also owns King, the like mobile game titan, Bubble Witch Saga, Candy Crush, Diamond
Oh.
Diaries, Farm Heroes, and Pet Rescue. Those are huge. Those are massive titles. Like you look at the scale of something like World of Warcraft, and you think that's a moneymaker. At the end of the day, Candy Crush is like they're
Crushing it.
100%,
Get that
blows
fucking,
my
them
fucking
boomer
mind.
bucks.
doesn't it?
God, I hate the world.
Yeah, right. But of course, this also means that Microsoft now owns Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch.
Crazily enough, Sekiro.
Really,
Yeah, From Software is actually owned by Activision, even though it was a PS5 exclusive.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, weird, huh?
There's gonna be a lot of studios that are involved with this now. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
well, especially since Activision has been doing publishing for a long time. You know, there are a lot of third-party
they're still
game
only the
devs.
third largest. That's crazy to think about.
It's wild.
But
Yeah,
it is
so-
nice to hear that his days are numbered, though.
I mean potentially, right? So basically, Wall Street Journal was looking into it, and apparently they talked to somebody with insider knowledge, and it looks
Did
like
they name them?
no. So again, right?
And
So
it's fluff.
But no, that's just standard procedure. Like,
It is.
Of course, they're going to want to distance themselves from Bobby Kotick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It only makes sense. You don't spend almost $70 billion on it to keep. It's like
almost $69 billion.
It's like getting a fruit basket that someone shit in the middle of.
yeah, you're gonna clean the shit out, and
and then eat those chocolate turtles.
yes,
Yeah. So it's like it's
It's weird you have chocolate turtles in your fruit basket.
listen. If you don't get chocolate turtles in a basket, is it really a basket?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I like turtles.
So there's a lot of implications here. Like one of the funniest things that I thought of first was Phil Spencer having talked about the Activision Blizzard scandals recently, like going out and speaking against the behavior at Activision Blizzard. While I mean, we're
definitely
just talking
working
weeks
in
ago.
the back line,
Right.
acquiring it.
Yeah, acquiring Activision Blizzard at the time. He said, he told his staff he was deeply disturbed and troubled at the horrific events and actions at Activision Blizzard, and that Microsoft is evaluating all aspects of our relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments as a result. So, I think the acquisition was purely a financial one, right? You're looking at Activision Blizzard stock tanking and their valuation being the lowest it's been since like 2013. You're looking at all of this ongoing scandal at Activision Blizzard. And as Phil Spencer, I'd say, well, the state of California just cleared out all the like absolute worst actors in like by pursuing Activision Blizzard in these lawsuits. And Activision Blizzard actively kicking out these people and them leaving simultaneously. So,
I mean, now
There never
Prime time.
There never would have been a better time than this.
No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
prime.
If
Prime.
if someone had brought up the concept of Activision Blizzard being bought by anybody prior to all this stuff happening, it would have been like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
they're
100%.
too successful. It's going to cost way too much money to acquire them. And why would they ever sell their company?
yeah.
But now,
The interesting thing is, like, there were no whispers of this before it happened. I woke up yesterday morning and my phone had just exploded with Twitter notifications and, with Google notifications, I have keywords of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft, Xbox, PlayStation, all those, like, so I have steady trickle of information coming in at all times. And I had like 39 notifications, and the news had happened like an hour and a half prior. And nobody seemed to know that this was going on. Like, obviously the people that needed to know did, but like the word didn't get out about an acquisition until yesterday.
that's kind of hard to believe that they're able to keep it so close to the vest.
Yeah.
and I think it kind of implies that this is something that they moved on quickly.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
So, like, business consequences and politics all aside, like, as a consumer, what does that mean for old IPs?
So we don't
Right?
know
Like,
yet,
do we know?
right?
Way too early to tell on that.
Is there anything promising or what? Because like, that's
Potentially.
what I care about as a consumer of video.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of
right? It's
potential.
like,
Yeah.
The key thing I think about is that, in my opinion, I've been watching a lot of the Blizzard games kind of in a slow decline now for a couple of years. I mean, under the heading of Activision, I have not liked the direction that a lot of these games have gone. At the very least, because we don't know how they're going to get incorporated into Microsoft and how well they're going to treat these IPs, at the very least, it's change. And if something's not working, change it up, see if you can get it up and running again. And there's so many just beloved IPs that I'm hopeful, at the very least, that we're going to see some cool stuff out of this.
Do you have any prognosis as to what the cause of the decline in those IPs under that helm was?
Yeah, greed and money.
Money.
So do you think that the culture has shifted now with this buyout?
I
like,
think
is that going to be a difference maker?
What I look at is Microsoft has been through this process of acquiring a bunch of titles based on their fan love of the IPs and then driving them in the ground because they also were trying to be greedy and cash grab, and they weren't allowing for any retention of the things that made these things great, which is typically their development teams, and letting them do their own things. Microsoft wanted to come in and say, like, okay, well, we need to get our money back from buying you. Either put stuff up that we can sell, or we're going to shelve this IP and not touch it. But because they've done that already, and they've been through that in their history as a game developing company, I feel like they've shown that they've turned a leaf, and that they might. And I don't want to commit to anything because at the end of the day, the greed aspect of stuff is really hard to overcome for these companies.
Yeah.
Now we're going to hold you to what you say right now.
Well, I mean, do it. That's fine. We'll haven't I told you so second.
Within like 24 hours ago?
But really, Microsoft's been on a spree of buying up companies and stuff to add to their Game Pass catalog. But they've also shown that they do respect the fan base of games. And I see that when they're bringing back games that were shelved, and they're giving them new life, and not just through like a shitty reskin like fucking GTA 37,
sure,
Skyrim,
the
48.
Ultimate Collector's Edition.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, Age of Empires 4 just came out, I think, at the end of last year, and it's an entirely new Age of Empires. It's the first example I think about because I used to.
So there's a refreshing take on it for the new one. I haven't.
I mean, I wouldn't say
It's still Age of Empires.
It's still Age of Empires, but it is a new version of Age of Empires.
Well,
which,
you guys know me. Like I believe in don't fix it if it ain't broke. But
yeah, and that's kind of
polish
I feel
it
like
up every once in a while.
And I know from what I've heard too, they're very interested in stuff in letting indie games be developed up on their platform. Which is always something that you want to hear from a big game company. Is they're not just dumping all their resources and attention into the AAA titles.
Yeah. This is the same company that brought to you the Xbox Live Arcade, which just like blew up the indie market exponentially.
Yeah.
Dude, do you remember one of the flagship titles of the Xbox 360 was Geometry Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Wild. Like, yeah, it was a console seller. People fucking loved that game to the point where like that was like the first time you saw kind of a mobile game type like iterative game on a console platform. They just chunked those things out, but it was a little developer that made that. So
I'm really hoping that if anything comes to light from this, we get a new DJ Hero.
I was gonna ask. So like, what's pure speculation? What would be the most exciting attention paid to Microsoft by those IPs they've acquired for you?
Mine's obvious. It's World of Warcraft.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
You know, let's get out of this microtransaction heavy, absolute grind fest of a game and bring back fun, which has been Phil Spencer, the CEO of Xbox. His philosophy for quite some time is just like, let's make these things fun. People will buy them if they're fun, and that's where we're going to make our money, right?
Yep.
Also, the implication that because World of Warcraft has been a $15 subscription since its inception, that we might see it integrated into Game Pass somehow.
That'd be pretty cool.
I doubt that's going to happen, right? But
I would play.
Yeah, I mean, it would.
If they did that.
Absolutely. And being open to game, like being on Game Pass means you can play it on so many more platforms. Not that it's necessarily ready for that, right? But I mean, if they like, you can already do console inputs in the game, but the UI isn't made for it, right? So the UI won't even tell you what your stuff is bound to because it doesn't understand controllers. But there is controller support for it in Shadowlands.
But everybody talks about like controllers, so like you can always hook up a mouse and keyboard to your fucking
Right, that's the
Xbox,
thing.
right?
Like on your Xbox,
Like you can play it on there.
You absolutely
There's
can.
no impediment to that except
Right.
for maybe $100 worth of shit.
I think
It's so, to be fair, on the console, a game itself has to have mouse and keyboard support supported.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to use a third-party dongle to
Gotcha.
get it to recognize that you have a mouse and keyboard.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the newest Xbox will recognize mouse and keyboard by default, but it's still restrictive based on whether or not the game developers want to allow a mouse and keyboard. Once again, you can get around that if you have a dongle because that's going to essentially work outside the system to do that. But
I imagine in this case they'll probably enable mouse and keyboard support for
wouldn't
World of
you?
Warcraft on the Xbox if it were to come to the Xbox, right? But that personally, that's what I'm most excited for. Other than that, like if they were to finally do something with StarCraft, that'd
That's
be
the
delightful.
one that yeah, so what about you guys then?
I feel like for me it'd be Overwatch. I mean, I play
Really? That one's so new anyway.
Dude, I played a lot of fucking Overwatch, so it'd be nice to see some direction instead of just
Did I understand out on the
Nerfing.
balcony that you had like boycotted Overwatch?
yes,
Oh,
I mean, Activision Blizzard.
yeah.
I didn't realize that was a thing going on.
Yeah, we're pretty like.
you're not woke.
I have this button here.
Fuck you, Bobby.
That's for their that's for their CEO. Spent a little time making that one. That's for their CEO Bobby Kotick.
Okay.
We have a section called of the podcast called Bobby Watch. We don't like the guy. Guy's super scummy. Super scummy. I mean, as scummy as you would expect any like billionaire CEO, right? Especially the highest paid CEO in gaming.
I mean, it's worse.
It is. Yeah, it is.
I mean, anytime you have active knowledge of rampant sexual harassment going on in your company
And do nothing.
I mean, you think about like a Jeff Bezos or something. The guy's obviously kind of a piece of shit.
yeah.
But Amazon doesn't have rampant sexual harassment suits against them, right?
Right.
That it's clear that there's documented evidence that he's aware that it's going on.
Amazon just has permanent crunch. Like, yeah, crunch mode always.
And piss bottles,
Yeah.
which is also not great.
Also, Xbox has also been coming out with titles regularly, like as now in-house developer and as a publisher. Xbox Game Studios has been coming out with games regularly without crunch because they're very anti-crunch, which is awesome. We're seeing big titles. Like, let's use Halo Infinite as an example. That was supposed to be a launch title for the Series X. They postponed the launch of Halo Infinite, the console seller, the flagship of Microsoft Game Studios, like, period.
Admittedly, it's about the only thing that they had on the docket when the Series X was launching. Was like, Halo Infinite's going to be on this.
Yeah.
That's a big gamble. That's an even bigger gamble.
It's huge. It is likely one of the reasons that they are so far behind the PlayStation 5 in sales.
And I personally think video games are a creative medium. You need to give creativity as much space as you can reasonably allow in order for it to truly blossom.
Which used to be Blizzard's moniker, was like the game comes out when it's ready.
Exactly.
In past 8 to 10 years, it's been like ship it as fast as possible with as much content as possible, with as much grind as is needed to make this happen now.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you're seeing purposefully they're removing artists and developers from the game and gameplay so they can create new mounts that they can sell in their eShop. It's been WoW has kept devolving. Here, let's give you less story, let's give you fewer quests, fewer dungeons, less frequent update patches, but we will make sure the store is fucking loaded with mounts for you to purchase during this expansion.
It's like
sorry,
cooking.
you didn't like that storyline, but chop.
Yeah, look at this cool little pet dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can taste the love in cooking. You can do that same thing with like video games.
Absolutely.
You can tell when it's a work of passion.
Yeah.
So now, if I'm understanding how the game industry stuff works now, Microsoft now owns all these IPs and whatnot. So they essentially own studios, and each of the studios is responsible for making these games. So a lot of like what we're going to see changing in the future is going to be how much control did Activision exert over these studios?
Yeah.
And if it was a great deal, is Microsoft going to step in and exert the same control, or are they going to allow the studios more flexibility?
I mean, that has yet to be seen, right?
Right,
Like
and
it's too early to tell, but this is the only hope that we really have of changing the workplace culture of these places is somebody else taking over, you know? We talked about Raven Software, how they're just continuing massive amounts of crunch. They keep laying off their QA team. They're not hiring on the people that they said that they would hire on after their seasonal contracts are over. And the workflow doesn't decrease.
Yeah. Well, that's why so much is up in the air, because almost all studios are pretty mum about how much control is exerted over them by their parent companies and their shareholders and stuff. Even if it's like a fucked up environment to live or work under,
for sure,
they still don't really talk about it all that much unless stuff comes to like a fucking head.
Yeah, unless the boiling points hit, you don't hear about it.
But I mean, I think it becomes pretty clear in a lot of games when you can see the influence of like a parent company and shareholders and stuff like that, but it's not always the case. Like I think about Path of Exile is owned in like a majority by Tencent.
Yep.
And the game's primary income is through microtransaction cosmetics. And the pricing scheme is just insane. And then I think about, I guess it's so hard to say that it's become an industry standard, but so many of these industry games, these AAA titles with microtransaction cosmetics are responsible to answering to an uncaring shareholder-driven parent company.
Yeah.
And that's going to perpetuate the system of like overpriced microtransactions, loot boxes, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And admittedly, Microsoft's not starting out too strong with the Halo microtransactions that they had in Infinite.
Yeah.
Like it's still clearly like a fucking bullet point on all their goddamn spreadsheets or whatever. I'm brain farting on what you call the projector meetings with slideshows. What am I thinking of?
You're thinking of. I just listened.
PowerPoint?
PowerPoint.
Yes.
PowerPoint presentation. Sorry. Thank you. God, I was brain farting hard on that. But yeah, it's all these meetings. Their PowerPoint presentations are like microtransaction cosmetics. This is how we make fuckloads of money and stuff. And I've still been waving the flag about like, drop these prices down to a fucking reasonable level and see how much money you make.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really doing that. And I'm sick and tired of paying or even considering buying a $20 fucking character skin in a game.
Yep.
But once again, it's like, we'll see. I have hopes.
I mean, the only way we were going to see Activision Blizzard take a different direction was by cutting the head off.
Yeah.
And it looks like that potentially might happen.
This is a feasible way.
We haven't talked about Bobby Kotick potentially leaving the company. It looks like so. Projections are, and the statements are clear, that he's going to stay on in an active role as a CEO of Activision Blizzard during the acquisition. They keep stating plainly that it's going to be during the acquisition. Wall Street Journal had that interview where they found out that that may not be the case. He may be exiting, whether it be whether he's being ousted or whether he's doing it voluntarily. That has yet to be seen, but. That's looking like that's going to be the case. It looks like he's going to be leaving.
How much money do you get paid for getting bought out as a CEO who knew about sexual harassment?
Well, for Bobby Kotick, it's a lot.
Company? Yeah,
his exit strategy could absolutely be that after the acquisition is complete, that he would take home a bonus of $300 million or nearly $300 million. As Russ brought up earlier when we were discussing it,
it's not counting his shares.
Not counting his shares. So that's just in his contract that upon leaving, a couple $100 million,
Yeah, if their Microsoft's proposal is $95 a share, and because the amount, like millions of stock that Kotick owns of Activision Blizzard, he'd be making somewhere like $405-ish million on top of his leaving bonuses.
It's gross.
You know what I'd love to see, which is a dream scenario. Fucking cross your fingers that like lawyers are getting
Jail
involved in this
time?
acquisition, find out some fucking dirt on Bobby Kotick and be able to like strip him of the vast majority of his fortune. Because as much as
we still get StarCraft 3.
right. I mean, it's delightful news that there might be a big shakeup in all these Blizzard IPs that they own. I'm really looking forward to see what comes from that. It's a fucking shame that this dude's like golden parachuting his ass out to a fucking tropical island in the process of this.
100%. I wish the worst for Bobby Kotick. And I'm not a person that typically does that. I like to recognize that everybody's a person and everybody has faults. But when you're this fucking evil of a person who doesn't recognize the wrongdoings under his own leadership of a company that he has been running, Activision, for 30 fucking years, it's gross, man.
We're in a nation of no repercussions. I'm fucking tired of not seeing repercussions. And because gaming is close to heart to us, you know, I'm rooting extra hard for this one, but really across the board, like people need to be held fucking accountable for the fucked up shit that they do or they allow to happen, and we don't see it enough. So I hope they fucking get him somehow. Probably won't, because that's the world we live in.
Right. Some other stuff that I want to talk about is, so with the integration we might be seeing, because these are now Microsoft first-party titles, we might be seeing a lot of their games on Activision Blizzard's games on the Xbox and Microsoft Store. I'm wondering, so especially on PC, the Microsoft Store sucks. It just does. That thing barely fucking works. When I was downloading Halo Infinite, for example, it didn't tell me that it was ever downloading. Never told me. I just had to wait.
Do you have the Xbox companion app on the PC?
I do. Yeah.
Because I used that. It was fine.
It's fine. I would, instead of seeing Activision Blizzard titles on Xbox, I'd like to actually personally see them move to Battle.net, because one of the things
Battle.net still exists?
Of course.
Battle.net's the launcher hub for all Blizzard Activision games.
Oh, okay.
Which is
like Steam, but
I guess
tiny.
I just so associate it with just playing StarCraft back in the day.
It's their integrations are they're already better. Doing VoIP over the Battle.net launcher is easier. Grouping is easy, like getting in a party is easier. Purchasing and launching games is easier. Their UI is just straight up better.
The only way I could see them possibly doing that is if they're able to integrate that into the Xbox OS efficiently, because that's kind of why I think the Xbox companion app and stuff is their method right now, is because it's just like it's part of the overlay of the Xbox operating system.
Well, they own it now, or own it soon. So hopefully at least they get
check clears.
Well, I don't think they're going. It was cash. I don't think they're going to be using the Battle.net launcher, personally. That's like...
I mean, I feel like they're fucking allergic to ever fixing their communications on Xbox.
Yeah, right.
It's literally...
I was just thinking when you said like the VoIP is better, I was like, man, why is it so hard to do in-game chat?
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Why is it so hard?
We literally had fucking team chat back in the day on PC before any of these companies existed.
Yep.
It never seemed to be a problem.
And, there was one point where Microsoft and the Xboxes were going to be purchasing Skype so they could use that as the backbone for all their in-game communications. And that
I never remember having to run another app in order to chat with you guys when we were playing games.
On PC we did. Yeah,
on PC for sure.
Yeah, TeamSpeak, Ventrilo. Yeah.
So so one of the big ones I remember, just this is sort of going to be tangential, but like, what did we use for America's Army? Or were we just all in the same room back in the day?
It was TeamSpeak.
We used TeamSpeak.
Okay, was that integrated within the program or no?
No.
It was third party.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I just didn't remember that.
Yeah. And then after TeamSpeak, there was Ventrilo. Ventrilo kind of became the big thing.
Okay, so there's always been something.
There's always been something. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well then never mind.
Ventrilo blew up, and then Skype, of course, did. And now we've got Discord.
In-game so hard to fucking do?
It's because they don't want to fucking do it. I don't know what their problem is. Like, fuck them. Like half the time we're playing Apex, like we would rather be in Discord with each other. Like you literally have issues where like you go to a loading screen and it cuts off all voice communication. You're like, why is the voice communication tied to that?
I also think that's true of PC gaming, because you're not stuck on one platform, right? having something that's more versatile. Like we use our Discord for like, even if there's good in-game VoIP, we use our Discord. Yeah. So anybody else can jump in. We're getting notifications as people are talking in the chat and stuff. So it does work better on that side.
But it's also just because like, traditionally speaking, in-game chat's been so bad that you traditionally default to this third-party app.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just had, say, a Discord app that ran in the background on the Xbox,
right?
Like it would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, it'd be great. That would be so preferred. But then there are questions about text communication and stuff, which is a pain in the ass on console and all that. But for VoIP, it would work wonders.
Yeah, they can make some adjustments.
Yeah, for sure.
I really want to see what if they can do anything with Call of Duty. Like I have been actively anti Call of Duty, even though I enjoy playing most of the Call of Duty games.
Sure,
but I got sick and tired of this once a year AAA release shit where the game's just a fucking.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
but
thing,
like,
or even
more extreme, you know,
or shittier, and like they've literally made ones that are clearly worse than the previous version, which is. You know, you could have just given us more shit in the previous game and it would have been cool.
You could have just not come out with anything that year.
Well, just
kept
content
playing
to
that
it. Like that's new maps, new guns, new cosmetics, new game types, game modes and stuff to play with. Like you can keep a game running for longer than a year by adding that to it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally look at Apex has been running for 2 years. Look at Overwatch, which has been running for like 4 years.
Online.
But instead, they're like, no, we want you to purchase a brand new game. And no, this game may or may not be fucking trash.
Chad asks a good question. How do you really change Call of Duty, though?
You don't need to change it.
Right.
You need to stop fucking around with shit so much.
Yeah.
And, like, you can try experimental stuff if you want to, but keep it at the core fun level gameplay you want, but add content to that core mechanic. So I think if you went back to like Modern Warfare 2, commonly one of the favorite Call of Duties, right?
My favorite.
I'm thinking Modern Warfare 2 was.
Yeah.
Maybe even the first Modern Warfare. And then you could just keep adding content to that game. For you don't have to do it forever. You could eventually make a new one.
Yeah.
You definitely don't need to like go back and make a fucking World War II one every like 4 years because you can't think of anything else to do.
Right.
Yep.
Realistically, and this is kind of somewhat off topic, I want to see a shooter where almost all the characters are primarily focused around movement abilities. Like I want to take, if you took grappling from like Titanfall or Pathfinders from Apex, or even the grappling hook from Halo, made that a character that could do that. You make a character that can do like Horizon's gravity well lift, teleportation with Ash, and like every character has a movement ability.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we would go into like a newer modern shooter.
For sure.
Give somebody a double jump. I mean, you literally just take all the movement characters from Apex and then make a game around those movement characters.
And here's the thing. If they only launched, let's say, 3 Call of Duty games during a console lifecycle, right? Let's use that as our measurement tool, a life cycle of a console.
Which is what, 10 years, 8 years?
8 to 10 years. At least nowadays.
Sure.
And instead of coming out with a new one every year, you work on one. You put it out at the beginning of a console lifecycle. That lasts you between 2.5 to 4 years, right? And you continue development on that, maybe even including additional single-player campaign, right? You can continue the fucking story of a Call of Duty without coming out with a new one. 100%. Yeah.
Destiny releases expansion content
right.
for a shooter.
Exactly. They really did not need a Destiny 2, which, is a whole nother topic. But you can take these franchises and iterate on them within that one title.
Yeah, that's what always sort of threw me is how many numbers they just keep throwing after a game. When you're just like, just keep working on that same game.
But
release a better version every year. That's fine. But nobody's gonna begrudge you that.
And that requires the use of less artists, less development time, and then you can split teams, and the next team can be working on the new one.
I feel like, and I could be wrong here, but it felt to me like Black Ops, the first Black Ops they made, the intention was to do something like this season pass that'll continually add content. I don't know if it's the first Call of Duty that had a season pass, but the whole Black Ops like elite membership that you could buy seems to me like that was the way to go forward, to where like, okay, we're going to give you new maps, we're going to give you new guns, we'll give you new cosmetics and stuff. As long as you're paying for this elite membership, you get access to all this content. But then like they still ran like a 1-year cycle before they came out with the next Black Ops and made you buy another game and stuff, in which case why you wouldn't keep paying for the first subscription anymore if they even made more content for it, because I'm not sure if they actually continued that after the next Call of Duty game was released. But you can't try to incentivize somebody for 1 year of a membership, because that's just like all that content could have just been in this game already.
Right.
You know, it's not hard to stay interested in a first-person shooter for 1 year.
No, it's not. Like you can play the same FPS because it's your favorite. Like Apex is a perfect example for you guys.
Yeah.
The game is like what, 3 years old now at this point?
Yeah, I think so. 3. Yeah.
Yeah. And
All I want is one FPS to rule them all. You know, like at the end of the day, I just want one to play
all I want
over
is
and over again.
All I want is good games.
Go play
I don't care how.
Counter-Strike
Yeah, right.
That's my fucking default first-person shooter is Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean,
it hasn't changed in forever. I love that.
Yeah, well, I would like to see some change. Maybe so. Here's the thing.
Just some attention.
I like
guess.
content. Like,
Yeah,
don't get me
Sure,
wrong,
yeah.
But let's look at World of Warcraft. Okay, so you have content that comes out in the same game semi-regularly, not as frequently as you'd hope so. But let's take a look at World of Warcraft in its current iteration. We have Shadowlands. Aside from that, we also have World of Warcraft Classic. Aside from that, we also have World of Warcraft Classic Season of Mastery. And aside from that, we also have World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. They're using all the same platform and assets to let you play kind of how you want to and in the generation in which you wanted to. If you were to take something like Counter-Strike, you could have Counter-Strike Pure. And then you have Counter-Strike Evolutions, right? Where it's like a test bed for new features and fun stuff to come out, where you can iterate on a classic and still, keep it malleable and changeable and have new seasons and that kind of thing, but still be able to default back to fucking, Dust 2 and enjoy yourself on Counter-Strike.
Even down to using like different game modes as release content.
Yeah.
You know?
That's one of the things I've seen kind of dip off in Apex, is that they experimented with some game modes, some limited time game modes, but they seem very reluctant. And I imagine it's probably a great deal of work to integrate those, but
Sure.
It gets concerning when the game takes a long time where they like release a new one, because it feels like they're like, okay, well, we didn't like doing that, so we're not going to do it anymore. So the one I think of specifically is like Winter Express. It's a winter time event, runs for like 2-3 weeks during the winter and stuff
train?
like that. It's the train.
Yeah.
The train's a lot of fun, and I'm glad to see it back and stuff, because it does mix up the normal everyday BR grind and whatnot. But they also didn't touch it. They haven't touched it in like 3 winters now. It's literally the same thing. I'm like, okay, I know it may be hard to make an entirely new like game mode and stuff, but you could have like changed where the train stops,
instead. A year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, they're like, ooh, we let you choose different guns. And I'm like, okay, that's literally bare minimum effort.
That should be an every 3 days thing.
Yeah. I mean, come on. That's pretty weak sauce.
Some weak taters.
But
yeah.
Sorry, I just got some news.
You guys know
looking
what
into
this
it real
is?
quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a microphone.
it's a tiny bowler hat.
It's a PP beanie.
I think you're overestimating yourself there, buddy.
This? Oh, that'd be perfect on top. Be a big beanie.
It's been in my mouth, so it has that in common.
What news did you get? If it's shareable, I'm sorry.
It is shareable. Okay. Yeah. No, this pertains to Activision Blizzard acquisition and Bobby Kotick. So
Yeah.
He's out.
right now, this second,
He's gone.
he's not.
Oh.
But it's being reported by the Wall Street Journal that Bobby Kotick considered buying video game media outlets Kotaku and PC Gamer. While the finer details of the potential deals have not been revealed, the apparent idea behind buying the companies was to spin coverage back in Activision Blizzard's favor.
Wow.
Fucking scumbag!
Fuck you, Bobby.
Dude.
Taking a leaf out of the old
The Bezos playbook.
fucking politician playbook.
Oh
man.
yeah, dude. Oh, this is so gross. Yeah. So, numerous allegations against employees of Activision Blizzard and even Kotick himself have surfaced. Current employees have gone on strike, protested the lack of change within the studio, despite the storm that has been raining down on it in the past 6 months. However, it was revealed that almost 40 Activision Blizzard employees have been fired since the lawsuit back in July.
Is that the dude?
That's Bobby Kotick right there. Yeah.
Oh, that motherfucker's had work done.
So instead of just hiring
Fake
the
motherfucker.
employees that you said you were going to give jobs to anyway, and you're just going to spend more money to make them, instead of changing the bad things, just stop
More money to
talking
keep it out of the fucking news, man.
Dude, just spin that shit.
That's a fucking dude who uses Botox, and I'm sorry, but I
hope his
automatically
yacht
have
sinks.
I have less respect for any motherfucker using Botox.
I don't fault people that use Botox. It's whatever. You know, it's your face.
I hope a band
Like
of
guys who
pirates
use
get him.
Botox are like a different
Somebody get him.
people, man. I
I'm
don't
the
know.
captain now. That's what he needs.
I don't
He needs-
honestly think that strategy would have worked anyways. I think that if he started pressuring like Kotaku and Game Informer to spin Activision news, they would have just come out and been like,
Well, I mean, he wasn't
Andy.
pressuring them to. He was trying to buy them to.
You use them?
well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I think that might have
Okay.
backfired on him if he'd
I didn't
actually
wanna
attempted to do
unintentionally insult you.
I'm not insulted. I don't use Botox.
Okay.
that. All right, well, the
guys
future
using
is
Botox?
unknown.
Nobody here
Nobody's-
uses fucking
Yeah, I
Botox.
just wanna make
You're over
sure.
there
Ranting about
I
Botox
do.
and fucking
You using Botox?
Yeah.
Why?
in my testicles. I like them smooth.
I mean, that's fucking cool, dude.
like a Cadbury egg.
Oh no,
It's like got that good feeling.
gross. Just look. I didn't know
about
you.
that.
I didn't know you had black balls though. It's impressive.
Well, I mean,
20 years you've known him. You didn't know he had black balls?
I've seen him plenty. It just I don't see color, man. That's all it boils down to, dude. All right. Well,
Equal opportunity.
I just with as much as we talk about Bobby Kotick and Activision Blizzard and keep them in the news cycle with us, I felt we needed to have an emergency podcast. Just even though today was, this was supposed to be our week off, figured we got to talk about it.
We're here.
We're here.
we're here.
We're queer. Get used to it.
I mean, yeah. I guess. All right. So, does anybody have any last thoughts?
I just say keep your fingers crossed that something really awful and terrible happens to Bobby Kotick.
Amen, brother.
And keep your fingers crossed that we have an exciting new era of Blizzard IPs ahead of us.
Yeah.
Agreed.
My fingers are crossed.
Finally get that Ghost made, StarCraft Ghost.
Get some of that gussy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next week for the regular podcast.
Doing
Gotta all
this?
do this.
Yeah,
1, 2,
what?
3,
Yeah.
out.
I mean, the podcast is done
1,
being
2, 3,
recorded. We're still
out.
live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
How long
Well-
do I have to do this before we're not live?
1, 2, 3.
We're not going not live. We're doing Jackbox.
No, we're
Oh, I have to
we're gonna
keep
do
it up.
Jackbox
I
now.
have to
forever,
keep it up till the
forever and
end.
ever.